I wanted to play a game of 20 questions. If that's okay.
20 questions. I dare.
All right, there might be more truth in this. I'm not going to ask you to do any dares, so you don't have to worry. So
Okay,
You
all
can
true
lie
questions.
Right.
Yeah.
I might throw in a dare just to mix it up, just
Well, I might have to get a knife or something, right?
just pull your tongue out. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah, just cut your tongue out.
Welcome to Quality Violence Cinema. We have the legend Tim Ritter here. Welcome. You might know him for, a Killer Spree and first movie, Day of the Reaper, but he also did the Truth or Dare series. Very notorious. He's got some good stuff under his belt.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We were talking about some of your early shorts, like the Panther one is going to be on a set that's coming out soon. Like, what other your earlier shorts are going to be on there?
Just for now, I think we're going to put the first two shorts that I did in 1978 on this, hopefully this upcoming box set, because of course, everything's always to be determined, but we are working on a box set. And my first Super 8 movie is called Super Panther, and it was filmed in 1978, kind of a mixture of Superman the movie and the Pink Panther franchise, which I was a pretty big fan of and still am. But those two, they're real short. They're like 3.5 minutes, but that was the first time that I picked up a Super 8 movie camera on my own and, made my own movies back then. So that was kind of the very humble beginning.
What was the other short that was going to be on there?
Beyond those, I mean, yeah, once I started, once I got the film bug and got a hold of the Super 8 movie camera, man, I made a bunch of movies. I mean, I was constantly throughout probably middle school and high school, I was just kind of cranking out movies. It from Outer Space, it came from Saturn. Then when I saw Halloween, I made a movie called about a killer bowling ball, a whole franchise, almost mixture of Rocky and a killer bowling ball movie of all the weird things, but basically about a world champion bowler and his enemies tried to make a remote controlled bowling ball so he'd all get gutter balls. And all this was because my cousin Joe Pruth had a bowling alley in the basement of their house, and every time I'd go up to Ohio and visit them, let's make another bowling ball movie. So at the end, he would have a with the bowling ball and either shoot it out of the sky and then go win the tournament. I kind of scored it with vinyl scores from the Rocky movie. So, and then of course, when I saw Halloween, I realized that, we didn't have to shoot as high as crazy bowling ball movies. And another one I made was, a couple of them was about a killer shopping cart. And that was probably a little bit, but yeah, these little aliens, they commandeered the shopping cart in a parking lot, and then they just started mowing down all the shoppers, and then the cops, I played one of the cops, got called, and I think I was Dent Westwood. They're pretty heavy handed, and I had to battle the shopping cart. And I remember we went to in the ending, all the shopping carts all attacked me. It was kind of like a spaghetti western, and I was on like a big sand dune, and I remember it was like 20 feet down, and I wrestled this shopping cart and it was going head over heels down the huge embankment. Just crazy stuff. But then after Halloween, of course, then I made movies like Dead and Gone, Bits and Pieces, and they're more slasher oriented. Those are some of the, and I probably made 20 or 30 of those movies. And I had we created little posters for them, and we even had our own little fanzine that we would publish and photocopy and hand out. It was a full production company with no money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you started when you're like 10 or 11 doing this.
Right.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about. Is there any thoughts of remastering or remaking Day Reaper?
Well, Day of the Reaper obviously was my culmination of Super 8 movie making. I went from 3 minutes to 12 minutes to 15 minutes, then went up to 30 minutes and 35 minutes. And finally, when I got enough experience, I said, well, we can make a feature-length movie, and that became Day of the Reaper, 72 minutes. And that was kind of inspired by, you know, all the things that I was getting into with horror then. And we transferred that to videotape and went around store to store to sell that. But as far as, you know, remaking it, I've had a few producers, you know, approach me about it. I'm thinking more maybe some sort of sequel / remake, maybe in the same traditions, you know, 45 years later, whatever it's been. But you never know, you know. You know, it's not on the books right now, but you know, I wouldn't say never say never again, said James Bond. So
would you like remake any of those early shorts you were talking about? I mean, like the bowling ball movie, I would totally love to see a whole fucking franchise about.
Mhm.
about a killer bowling ball.
Yeah, it'd be funny as hell.
Maybe. I mean,
I mean, got rubber.
the last one we shot was in 1986, and I think right before or after Truth or Dare, and we went up to Ohio, and my cousin and I, it was our last big bowling ball movie, and he had just come out of the special forces, so he knew how to blow things up. So we decided to go in the pond. At the end, he made this incredible bomb, and we just blew up this bowling ball. Everybody came running out of the house, and we had real guns and explosives out there, and well, they thought we were blowing up the place. But it was quite spectacular. What a way to spend like Christmas, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What kind of force does it take to blow up a bowling ball? It seems like it takes like a.
Probably a lot.
I filmed some of it. It was some kind of pipe bomb he made, so he was really good with explosives and everything. I mean, and it slow motion. It looks incredible.
Interesting.
Do you still have that footage, by the way?
I do, yeah. It could show up as an extra. I just have to take, you know, we'd have to dub out the copyrighted music in the soundtrack. So some of that could appear in an upcoming release. And also there was a Super 8 movie right before Day of the Reaper was made, called The Killing Connection. And it's pretty good. It's kind of like Day of the Reaper, and it's pretty gnarly and pretty gory, and kind of like a Dirty Harry type of movie with a killer, and the killer's crucifying women. And it's a movie that I showed in high school and almost got a teacher fired because he didn't watch the movie. He put it in a VCR and pointed it at the class all day. And there's a scene where a pregnant girl is walking down the street, and the killer, you know, jams a machete in her belly, and the blood goes all over the place, and somebody complained. But fortunately that worked out. So
Thanks for a good story, though.
yeah, kind of crazy time. But yeah, that here on you know, I see that more. Maybe if Day of the Reaper gets re-released, it'd be a great extra, like a 35-minute, you know, the movie before Day.
Hell yeah, that'd be sick.
So yeah, so anybody that wants to collect and watch this stuff, you know, keep your eyes peeled for, you know, more madness.
And then you continuously work with like SRS, right? So like that's where I'll see most of your stuff coming from.
Yes, yeah, I've been with SRS, which is Ron Bach's operation, since 90, probably 95 or 6, right after Creep. I hooked up with him. We've had a really good, you know, working relationship, and he's one of the few distributors that really, you know, pays when, you know, when you make money and he makes sales, he will pay. So.
And you had your start with Sub Rosa, or?
Yeah, SRS Cinema. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sub Rosa used to be, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they've changed the name a couple times for, I don't know, business reasons or something. So.
Oh, okay. Somehow I never put those two together, but I can see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he started out as Salt City Home Video, and then I think he went to Sub Rosa Studios, and I think it's now SRS Cinema. So it's just a name, probably shorter name for, you know, to make it easier to remember or something. SRS.
Yeah, true that.
I can remember that, right?
I do that with QVC all the time and shorten it just so because people are like, "What? Call Levi what?" I'm like, QVC.
Now it's SCI and FI or something.
Right.
Or is it SYF? It used to be SYFY, but now I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
Some amount of like amalgamation of letters. It's one of those.
Yeah. The less of it, CBS. You know? Right.
So Joel was your babysitter. Was there any other family members or friends that are in your early work?
Oh yeah, always. Joel Wyckoff was my babysitter in the 70s, and he made Super 8 movies. And he also drew comic books. And so, he would babysit me. And I was always creative, and I always looked up to him and said, wow, this guy's making movies and drawing comic books, which he still does. So I ended up being in one of his movies. I think it was a Bionic Boy movie. My dad was in it. He drove a van, and I played one of the henchmen. So then, later on, he moved away, and then we hooked up when I was distributing Day of the Reaper in probably 1984. But yeah, we would always use friends, family members, and for each movie, I would cast, jocks, cheerleaders, all the popular kids in school for my Super 8 movies, and some of the Daredevil guys. I remember there was one movie we shot. It was a James Bond movie called License to Kill, before they made the real License to Kill. And I had a bunch of crazy guys who were in sports and stuff, and they were like, yeah, I can jump off of bridges. And I was like, well, do you mind if you sit on the bridge, can you go over backwards? And, I'm going to have a guy with a fake gun and go, ha, 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 ha. And, there we were shooting that right on the bridge. He went flying over, like 30 feet down into actually the intercoastal in Florida. So it was a great shot in the movie. And I just remember there's another scene in that. It might be of interest to fans, where somebody falls down, has a little motorcycle wreck, and he's like screaming in the helmet. The bad guys run his head over in the helmet. But these were all school buddies. But later we used the drama teachers, and we actually in school, I staged an assassination, fake of course, of President Reagan at the time. We had a student in a Reagan mask, and he came walking in, and we had the killer. And this is stuff this would trigger so many people today. They would be so outraged, and I'd probably be kicked out of school, and everybody would be fired. But, we did that on school time, and everybody was really, cool with it. I even got credit for it. So, B+ on your directing there. But, that led to the drama teachers being in movies, and Richard Page, he was in Twisted Illusions, or my second movie. He played the guy in the Capricorn Network segment. And he ended up being in Truth or Dare Critical Madness, which was, a bigger funded movie right when I graduated high school. And he was just thrilled.
And then I know there was a story about like one of the Backstreet Boys or something like that ended up in like Truth or Dare. Was there any other like people that made a big name for themselves after your movies?
Well, the lead actor of Truth or Dare Critical Madness, John Brace, he went on, and he's a big casting director in, Los Angeles and Hollywood. He does like Grey's Anatomy and all the big TV shows. And I've seen his name on big movies too, which is really cool. Mary Finero went on to star in Miami Vice on the final season, and she did a bunch of big movies, an Oliver Stone movie on Any Given Sunday. And of course, Joel Harlow, our special makeup effects guy who did Killing Spree, started out with us on Killing Spree. He won the Academy Award for one of the new Star Trek movies, probably the remake with Chris Pine, whenever that one hit. So he won the Academy Award for special makeup effects. And I mean, he was just right out of school when we did Killing Spree, and he worked with Mark Peterson. And who knows? I mean, from Killing Spree, he went on to Trauma movies, Toxic Avenger 2 and 3, Basket Case, all those, and then just went all the way up. I mean, his right-hand man now is Johnny Depp. So when he was doing the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and everything, that was kind of cool. And
Damn.
Yeah, so some of these guys really, really did well. And one of them is mentioned the other guy who does I think his name was Mike. I forget his last name. He's an Italian guy, but you'll know exactly who he is. He did the score to Rogue One, Jurassic World. He's done does all the big Hollywood. He's like a big soundtrack recordist now. I think Michael Giacchino is the name he goes under now. So I mean, he'd used a different name in Killing Spree. Probably everybody should have, but but he's done real well for himself. It's nice to see, and it's just I was listening to his soundtracks as a fan before I realized, oh wow, I worked with this guy back in 1987. He was really, really cool dude. Just again in school or just out of school and wanted to do a low budget horror movie.
So are your films in the same cinematic universe, and do they make references to each other?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Especially the movies I made from Day of the Reaper '84 all the way to probably Dirty Cop 2 in 1999, 2000. All those movies have little references, kind of like influenced by Stephen King, the way he always refers to like Castle Rock and other, like in It and other books, refer to Christine or Plymouth Fury or incidents that happen. We always did that, always made little in jokes. Like you can even see it in Twisted Illusions. You'll see a Day of the Reaper poster hanging above the guy's head, and the one guy's watching it on TV, and Sunnyvale Mental Institution comes into play, and of course all the Truth or Dare movies are a big franchise together. But I always refer to those, in each movie, all the way up through probably Dirty Cop 2.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of those, are you going to re-release Dirty Cop 1 and 2, or because another kind of difficult to find?
Yeah, they should. If this box set goes as planned, they should be on this Blu-ray box set next year. It's a big thing, of course, with all the companies remastering all the old analog video movies and putting them on box sets. Through all like Vinegar Syndrome and all the part labels. Even the Wave videos are getting a new lease on life. So, and last year, well, I guess early this year, they released Killing Spree on TerrorVision through Vinegar Syndrome. So it was really cool to see that on a deluxe, Blu-ray.
That'd be awesome, especially since a badass company taking your movie.
Was Dirty Cop 2 pretty similar to the first one in its premise? Or is kind of just like, obviously Dirty Cop being not good at his job, essentially?
Pretty much, yeah. Only Donald Farmer plays another cop who is Joel Wynkoop's character's, I want to say cousin. And so they're kind of rivals. And then he figures out that that his brother who filmed the first one is out with this other cop, and they go to a video store and they see that he's made $1 million off the original. And so there's this big confrontation set up that never really happens because we were thinking about a part 3. But so it is a little different, but more of the same. It's shot the same. And we kind of left the ending kind of hanging, and we never did get to do a third one just because of kind of, low sales and not a lot of interest. But there was some viral videos between Joel Wynkoop and Donald Farmer made kind of setting it up. So those are included. And, if this does well, who knows, maybe we'll do a third one.
I personally get it, but I can see that some people maybe like the lack of story, maybe because it's just kind of, it seems like it's like you're watching cops, in some aspect. But I think it's great. I think it's an awesome approach to a film.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks. It was definitely inspired by cops, just kind of on steroids. It's like, what if a crazy guy, and that was before all the police officer controversies of the last 4 years, who knew it would become something where everybody looked at them like heroes and cops, and then it's just completely reversed now a lot of the times. And when you look at that situation, a lot of it's done because you're missing pieces of the video. People are cutting things out and only showing you part of it. So it's really, I don't think Cops is even on the air anymore. I don't think that would fly today.
No.
Yeah.
No, especially with the worst, having reggae as a cop beating doesn't seem to match.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if you can even make a Dirty Cop 3 in today's climate.
It would be touchy. It would be very touchy. You might get some mixed reviews.
Negative publicity is the best publicity, though.
That's true.
Well, on that note, though, when Dirty Cop No Donut was released, started out on fire. Like The Amazing World of Cult Movies gave me Best Director for Shot on Video, and Joel got Best Actor. Everybody loved it, but then when it went mainstream and like the New York Times got a hold of it, and all these different big, the New Jersey Shoreline Times, TV Guide, we were in Movie Line, and everybody trashed it. They were like, you could throw this tape across the street, smash it to pieces, don't watch it. And it was terrible reviews, and it killed. You would think that kind of publicity would help you. If I was reading about it and thinking, yeah, man, I got to see this. If I would have. Apparently, nobody else. They were like, oh man, it killed everything. We had a big website up and everything, and it just, for some reason, like you said, you just never know what the public will like. But it really,
Yeah.
But I think you have such a big, repertoire of different movies that, you can pick and choose and, like, oh, I may not like that one, but I really like that one. So it's like it broadens your audience.
I mean, it was a $350 movie, so that's probably my cheapest movie ever. So it wasn't like we were losing a lot, but we were off to a really good start. And then we saw Blair Witch success right around that time, and we'd done all before that. And I was like, oh wow, we're finally at the right place. And it's just probably not popular to see, a rapist be confronted and then have to self-mutilate his genitals by a cop with a gun pointed at his head.
Sounds like good cinema to me,
There is like, it may be a little too far, but then again, you got stuff like Bad Lieutenant,
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to see this one though. Definitely sounds up my alley.
Yeah, it's pretty twisted.
Speaking of twisted though, with Twisted Illusions being an anthology and it's directed by you and Joel, I was wondering like how do you guys share responsibilities and if there was any issues with that?
No, I mean, we didn't direct together, as he did 3 segments and I did 3 segments, and I wrote and directed mine, he wrote and directed his, and we did the final segment, the Truth or Dare segment, and Joel's just starred in that one and I directed, and then we did one together at the beginning, kind of a little wraparound thing. It worked out real well. That was our first collaboration, our first official, when we got reunited in 1984, 85. So, just kind of divided it up and did it. So there was no problem. So, yeah.
So you guys all both had the creative freedom to kind of do what you
right.
wanted.
It was just like, let's go do something. And that was the easiest thing to do at the time, as far as, getting, that by then I used adult actors. You're talking about, casting before. Now we were going around into local playhouses. We were going to shopping malls and putting flyers on cars and doing open auditions at hotels, and kind of trying to make a name for ourselves to be a little bit more professional, though, even though we weren't. So we're making steps.
And you came out with Twisted Illusion 2 in like 2005, or was it? Or when was that?
Well, it was like 20 years later, because at the end credits of the original, it said, coming soon, Twisted Illusions 2. And we kept meaning to do it. And it was like, finally, Joel and I said, we're going to have to do it. It was 20 years, 2005, finally got it out. And Joel did a segment. He did his in Florida. I had moved to Kentucky, so I did mine in Kentucky. And a friend of mine, filmmaker John Bowker, joined us, and he's done a lot of cool movies. I think the Evil Maker movies and Housebound and a bunch of other stuff. And he did a segment. So, and it was real fun. And we're thinking about doing a part 3 in the near future. So,
oh yeah. Yeah, Evil Maker looks cool.
20, 40, 60 years.
Yeah,
it's better late than never.
Exactly. It's like, will anybody even remember? Oh, back in 1985, and now it's 2025.
And did you use the same kind of equipment? Because it seems like they're almost like made to seem like it was recorded in the same time, like your later one.
Well, Twisted Illusions 2 was shot probably on, I want to say digital 8, but yeah, it took me a long time to get out of the analog. I didn't really get out of the analog until 2012 with Deadly Dares, where I shot on mini DV with and it wasn't, I guess it was HD, but it wasn't 4K or anything. It was kind of, there was that period where it was transitioning from, to digital, where it was, mini DV, and then going to HD, and then the, I guess 4K and all that. But I kind of stayed with, the older equipment until Deadly Dares. And then we did High 8 after Deadly Dares, which the gag on that was, hey, all these directors are returning back to their, roots on analog equipment. I'm like going, well, I never even left. So yeah.
Yeah, sign me up.
So we were on High 8 in 2013 or something like that. And, it was a fun movie. A lot of cool collaborators, Todd Sheets, Ron Bonk, Donald Farmer, to name a few.
Marcus Cook, yeah.
Chris, yeah.
But I was still shooting on that. So it hasn't been till recently where I've done more like Sharks of the Corn, where I actually use 4K. So, but the idea for Twisted Illusions 3 is to go back to analog video. So, and actually I'm working with a new filmmaker who did Night of the Zodiac, and she shoots in pretty much all the old. She's obsessed with Todd Sheets, the Colonial Brothers, Donald Farmer, all those people, and she only shoots in the old equipment. So the idea is maybe for part 3 to shoot that in the the older formats. So
Hell yeah. Do you think he'll ever go back to film? Because I know you stuck with SOV for quite a while and then jumped to digital, but like, would you ever go back to film if you had the opportunity?
I mean, yeah, if we had the budget, and if we budget, because it's very expensive. That was one of the things for both Truth or Dare and Killing Spree. Of course, shooting on 16 millimeter film back then was, the thing to do, because you were in the fine traditions of Night of the Living Dead, Evil Dead, Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, that I really liked. So it was like, and we were able to get the money, but the budget, processing, the negative transfer of all that, these days it's very expensive, and it was expensive back then. I think it was about $20,000 for just all that on Killing Spree. So if we would have shot it on, say, Beta SP, we would have saved all that money, and it probably would have looked pretty similar. But
Damn.
time, it seemed like the thing to do.
So what do you say to the people that consider Truth or Dare and Killing Spree SOV? Because I've heard a lot of lists where you get listed a lot as those being their favorite SOV. Do you classify those as SOV?
Technically, yeah, they were made specifically for VHS cassettes, and when they originally came out, that's all that's the only place you really saw them. So I mean, technically, I would agree with that, but of course, then there's the purists who say, "Oh no, that wasn't shot on analog video; it can't qualify." And I'm like, "Oh well," but it went directly to cassette. So, I guess you could look at it either way. But then, a couple of years ago, with the Draft House Theater, they ran Killing Spree all summer and did real well. Filling up the theater with people who went to the movie theater and watched it all an entire summer. So that was kind of cool. So, who knows? But it was shot on 16 millimeter film, but we actually edited it on video. We just did a transfer directly to 1-inch videotape, and we edited it, on video. So there was no film cutting. So I guess technically you could really say that was, shot video, post-production on video.
Like
Yeah.
POV. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Since Truth or Dare was your was first a short film, is there any others that you considered to do as a full feature?
I'd like to do Switchblade Insane, which is my segment in High 8. I still would like to make that into a feature-length movie, because we had to, the restriction was, do it inspired by one of your favorite movies, and one of my favorite movies is Last House on the Left, and I was kind of inspired by that for that. And I just think it would translate really cool, because we had to shoot it in we had to come in with a running time of about 10 minutes. So, but I had so much material in it, and I saw that it could go so many places that it would be fun to do that. A lot of movies are done that way. They start out as shorts and then become, something bigger. But no, Truth or Dare is the only one I think that I did that started out as a short and then went much, larger into a feature, and then a whole little franchise of movies, 5 of them so far.
You had a pretty decent sized budget for Truth or Dare. Like, how'd you end up getting it?
Well, again, I'd hooked up with Joel Wynkoop, and when we were selling Day of the Reaper, we met a guy named Al Nicolosi who worked at a video store, and he ended up producing and shooting Twisted Illusions for us, and collaborating with him took us kind of to a newer level, because we were using 3/4-inch video and 1/2-inch VHS. So, we had sync sound, a little bit more professionalism, and he worked at a television station. So long story short, wrote that, that Truth or Dare concept into a larger script, and we started shopping it around to different places, and ended up, when we were selling Twisted Illusions, there were these van guys that picked up Twisted Illusions and took it up the coast of, pretty much, I guess, the northern coast of the United States, all the way from Florida to New York. And at that point, there's more van guys in Chicago, and I think we got somebody's business card out of Chicago. It was called Video Swap International. And these guys were interested. I think they were distributing, I want to say 666, or one of those early shot on video movies.
555, you mean?
555, right? And they were doing that, and they wanted to make their own. And that's when we approached them. They'd seen Twisted Illusions, and then we ended up making a finance video and sending them the script. And then right out of high school, I was negotiating with them for about 6 months to do shot on video movie. And Truth or Dare was intended to be, critical edit, intended to be a beta shot on video movie. And when the producer got involved, that's when more money came in, and we got really lucky and got a $250,000 budget and a limited partnership, and just kind of blew up from there, in our favor, which was awesome.
Yeah. And then how'd you pull off that car explosion? Like, were you actually like pretty close to it? Because I mean, I know you had a pretty big stunt team.
Yeah. Well, again, when you have money, you're able to hire really good people. And the producer of the movie, Yale Wilson, was well connected. He hired a guy named Bob Shelley and Jerry Berry, who was a stuntman. Both of them had worked on like Ghostbusters, Code of Silence, all these bigger budget Hollywood movies. So, and they've done low budget horror movies as well. So, as a matter of fact, Bob Shelley was just in, he was in extras in the John Saxon movie, the cannibal one that somebody just re-released not too long ago, but he's in there. He did even that movie. I forget the name of it. It's got one of those cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, Cannibal Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So he's in the extras there, and he's the guy that blew up everything in Truth or Dare. So they were really professional. But the interesting thing about that stunt, of course, we used lenses close up.
Mm-hmm.
To capture all of that, but when you see the car slide into the telephone pole, you'll see an explosion. It was the power box. We hadn't planned on that, and we knocked the whole neighborhood's power out, including the mayor's house when we shot that. So it was we were lucky nobody got hurt because of that crazy stuff. So, but it was all done by professionals. But those guys were fearless.
Where are you going with the story and Truth or Dare 6, if you do it?
I'm not really exactly sure yet, but one of the ideas I've been toying with is, Mike Strauber from the original. He'd be pretty old now, so maybe maybe he's died and somebody saved his brain, in kind of like a brain type of movie where the brain's still alive and he can transfer his his essence into other people to do his evil deeds. Although I don't know how well that will go over now, since we saw that reception recently with Halloween Ends, with the Michael Myers transferring a new killer, right?
Yeah, as long as you have a decent, just bloody gore count, it should be fine. I mean, Halloween Ends was taken up a little far.
Yeah,
exactly. And I've been doing that in all the movies since, all the sequels since 1986, because we weren't able to get the original cast back. So I always have a different killer in each installment, kind of like the Psycho movies, where it's different Psycho 1, 2, 3, and 4. So
Why'd you decide to call the sequel Truth or Dare Wicked Games instead of the normal part 2 situation?
If I'm remembering right, Madonna came out with a movie called Truth or Dare, and I think the original producers ended up with in some kind of litigation with her, and obviously she just put her name over it, put Madonna Truth or Dare, and it's known as Truth or Dare. So I made that movie pretty close to when Madonna's Truth or Dare came out, so I just kind of opted not even to go that route, and I figured I was so low key and obscure anyway that Wicked Games, Truth or Dare Part 2, was just as fitting. So it was mainly just because, I wanted to avoid, litigation. But then, at that point, I didn't realize how small, the horror subgenre is, especially direct to video. So it probably wouldn't have mattered at all. But at the time, I was thinking, oh, I can't interfere. I'll get sued. I'm sure Madonna probably never even heard of.
especially now in 2000, there's 5 sequels. or 5 different names, other alternate name movies, you know.
Right. Yeah. Now it's out of control. Back then, there was no IMDb, and everybody was pretty respectful and territorial of titles. Now everybody just steals everybody's title, and like you just said, that I mean, one movie can have the same title, and you're like, "Oh, well, which frenzy is it?" You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, Amityville 5000.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, though, they're even popping them on the same date. So you're like, no, because usually you'd be like, oh, 2018, 2019. It's like, you're popping out the same year. And now there's no, like,
Yeah, and a movie made in 27 gets remade in 2020. It's like, what was that? Casper got remade. You know, just like 6
Oh
years.
God.
Like going, well, what? We have no new ideas at all.
yeah.
Seriously, it was shot for shot too. It was the
Oh,
same
really?
fucking movie. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't see it. I was like, it's just too soon. You know, even the Hitcher, I was like, you're never gonna beat, Rutger Hauer.
Mhm. Yeah. It's just great.
Never.
With your use of nudity in most of your films, was there a reason why Killing Spree didn't have any?
Killing Spree, no nudity. Well, that movie is so graphic anyway without the nudity. I remember one of the first reviews that I read of it was John McCarthy's Splatter Movies Volume 2, I think. And he was like, this movie is appalling, shot like a hardcore porn movie. And I was like, all right, I succeeded. But putting nudity in it may have just pushed it right over the limit. But when we shot it, some of the investors were not keen on that. And then also the material is really strong. Even casting, the lead actress, Lisa, was supposed to be a nymphomaniac housewife. And we did have nudity in it, written in it. And no one would take the role. People were backing out at the last second. Very difficult. We were casting at a church. We got kicked out of the church. It was a media banana. As you can tell, all this is just sheer madness, all these crazy stories. But so eventually we opted, and the actress that we got, Donald Farmer, a friend of mine, of course, another filmmaker, he hooked me up with Courtney Larcara, and she wasn't keen to do nudity, and the investors really didn't want it. So long story short, we just said, we don't even really need it. We have so much gore, and the gore is the focus of this killings. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was some great kills in Killing Spree.
yeah,
No,
that
and
was
the acting is great. I love that
Oh, yeah.
actor. Did he do
Yeah.
anything? I mean, I know he did like 3 of your films.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially he's gone on to do a bunch of other movies. Well, not a bunch, but definitely a handful of movies. And he was in I want to say I forget the name of the movie, but he did do like a cameo in a more recent splatter movie that was made.
Mhm.
You were talking about like the investors weren't keen on it, but like, have you had like pretty decent relationships and like complete creative control through most of your work, or has there been a couple like times where investors kind of mess with you?
Yeah, definitely Truth or Dare and Killing Spree, because they were kind of aimed at a bigger market. Like Vestron, we were trying to get deals with Vestron and stuff. There were definitely restrictions, but after that, really no, only kind of self-inflicted, because when you sell these, Joel Wynkoop and I would go around video stores out of the trunk of our car selling these things. So, different stores and different areas, in the Bible Belt and such. So we would make 2 cuts, one with nudity and one without, because some of them didn't carry adult movies, and if you had nudity on a movie, on a shot on video movie, it was automatically just assumed it was an adult movie, especially a movie Wicked Games with the Chaz Balin box art and all that kind of stuff. So we would have 2 different cuts even then, and then later the movies got chopped up, for when SRS Cinema, if they make a $1 video store deal, they would need a cut with no nudity, so that would happen. And then when we were getting in Best Buy and Circuit City in the early DVD days, there was restrictions. Now, not so much, but back then, definitely. And Creep was aimed at like Blockbuster. The idea was to try to get it into a Blockbuster video. So, and we ended up getting not into the corporate stores, but they were allowed to carry it in the I guess the owner operated ones,
Franchise, yeah.
But we didn't do too well. But as Blockbuster absorbed all the mom and pops, they ended up getting all my movies, even Day of the Reaper. So go figure.
Oh yeah.
Did Hollywood Video let you do nude ones?
Yeah, Hollywood Video was one of the ones that preferred that, and they were, that was one of their strong points. Obviously, was their B movie section with all the crazy, gore flicks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they were good.
No, I miss Hollywood Video. I remember buying out so many VHSs when they went out of business, or not when they went out of business, but it was even when they were just trying to get rid of VHSs and just transferring over to DVDs.
Right,
and just getting rid of all their stock. They're like, yeah, we have a bunch outside we're throwing away if you want to pick through. It was like, there's like 600 horror films out here. Like, yeah, I'll take it all.
They're going to go get a couple of vans and a pickup truck.
Yeah, like I'll be right there.
And then you brought up Creep. So how was working with Kathy Willits?
She was really fun to work with. Again, a lot of people may not know who she is and was at the time. She was a 90s scandalous, scandalous celebrity in South Florida, and it went national for a brief spell. But she was essentially, she was kind of a call girl, and her husband would record and document the dirty deeds from the closet on videotape, so sex videotape. And one of those clients happened to be, I believe, a Miami mayor. So that just opened the lid on political corruption and all this stuff. So I guess her and her husband ended up doing a little bit of jail time. And when they got out of jail, they called me. Who doesn't call me when they get out of jail? Almost everybody. So they said, hey, we wanted to, Kathy Willis is going to embark on an adult film career. And she's doing some spreads for magazines. Can you put her in a movie? And I was like, nah. At the time I was working on Creep, but I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So wrote her a role in it. She was great to work with, very pleasant, came to the set prepared, and just, I thought, the movie was inspired, the Creep was kind of inspired by a mix of Natural Born Killers and Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer at that time. And, I thought they both just, really inspired that movie. And she did a really good job. Her and Joel had good chemistry in it, playing brother and sister serial killer, and the incestuous relationship. Again, a family film you can feel at school, but
a family film, yeah.
So having a female killer in Creep, how did that go? And is there any female killer movies that inspired it?
I just think if you can get the female to be the killer, that's kind of cool, because Friday the 13th was a big inspiration. But I mean, as far as real serial killers, there's a few that are female, and but back then probably not as much as it would be now, where we have a lot more information on that. But I think it's just fun to have the females as a killer, the same way that a lot of people say that that I hate females because of all the victims in Wicked Games are females. But if you look at Killing Spree, all the victims, pretty much 90% of them are men, because the guy thinks that his wife's cheating on him with all these dudes. So it just depends on the stories. But nothing really, comes to mind, like ripped from the headlines. There's more of, Mickey and Mallory Knox type of influence more than anything.
And then you have a lot of similar themes. I was wondering, like, why infidelity was part of them.
Infidelity seems to be, everything, we all experience that, as far as being, rejected by somebody or something not working out in the relationship. And of course, there's been all kinds of, murders and mayhem and mutilation caused by people who didn't get along. So I've always kind of just tapped into that, even when I was a teenager, and being kind of rejected by, girls or women that I liked, and feeling that at that age, I kind of just channeled it into my the work that I did, and the movies and everything. And it just seemed like it was just a good springboard for murder, mayhem, and madness, because it kind of makes you feel so insane. If that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. It's more universal, like, feeling for most people.
Right, rejection and all that contrast. As a matter of fact, one of my newest shorts, In High Fear, kind of deals with that still, in a new and different way, where there's an insurance policy and somebody's killed, blah. So still doing same theme. Yeah.
So you've made a ton of movies over the years. And I was wondering, like, what's your favorite? And to throw it in, like, what's your least favorite out of your filmography?
Oh wow. Well, probably my favorite is probably the Wicked Games Snuff, because it came out. We re-edited it years later, and that was primarily only released in Germany initially. It was just a different cut with more scenes in it and more of a wild flow, kind of like irreversible. The other one that came out really good, I thought, was Reconciled. It was just a good shoot, real good. Enjoyed it. Everything we did, it came out as close to I imagined it on paper. On when I wrote it on paper, it came out as close as it could on video, and the end results, I think. So that was pretty impressive from my view with just a $3,000 budget. Beyond that, least favorite, I mean, I don't know. You do try hard, or they're kind of like all your children. So trying to criticize one would be probably impossible for me. I'm too close to them.
Are there any big projects or that fell through and never happened?
Yes, we had Truth or Dare, a big remake set for Lionsgate at one point with Robert Massetti, who was going to be the producer. We had that there for quite a while, and unfortunately they had executive change, and when that happens, all the old projects kind of get wiped clean. And then we had another kind of a giallo horror movie that I was asked to direct, and that was going to be in Dublin, Ireland at one point. And that had a $10 million budget. Everything was looking good. Joel Wynkoop was going to be in it. The script was written by somebody else and was really cool, and took place at a girls' school, kind of like the old, Argento movies like Phenomena, something like that. And that was what the attempt was going to be, and unfortunately that fell through with the stock market crash. All the investors who had put money in it took their money out because of the 2008 market crash. So
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. That would have been awesome to see you do a giallo, though.
Yeah, definitely would have been fun.
Oh, yeah. And then
what $10 million, come on now.
Yeah, right.
And
then what was your most challenging movie?
Oh wow, challenging movie. Well, they're all challenging because you're battling either no money, or even if you have money. I've noticed even a $300 budget like Dirty Cop, or a $300,000 budget like Truth or Dare Critical Madness, you're battling time, weather, elements, organization of people, casting, temperamental things that happen with actors and all that kind of thing. So, they're all very, very challenging. Probably Truth or Dare Critical Madness was probably my most challenging, because I was jumping in from the Super 8 feature to the little VHS anthology, and then it was like a film school and one learning how, learning on the job practically, how to storyboard and things I read a little bit about, but I had no, practical experience. So I learned everything as I was doing it from the producer, Yale Wilson, who had worked on Death Wish and a lot of other big movies. So, that was probably the most challenging, just getting acclimated to, more professional filmmaking.
Reconcile a bit different than your typical film. Are there any plans of doing something similar?
You never know. It was a fun movie to make, and it's kind of like Sunday school for exploitation fans, is what that was all about, pretty much. Kind of taking, my religious upbringing and beliefs and putting it into a more positive movie, where up to that point I'd only seen, kind of the negative side, and of course horror is always like devil worship. Yes, we love Satan. So I was like, oh, I think I'm going to make something on the other spectrum. So I think as a drama with some thriller aspects, I think it came out pretty good, and it's got a little bit of a exploitation flair. But yeah, to answer your question, definitely, I would not be opposed to, doing something, in that vein again. But the response to that movie was really good, especially when we released it through Netflix, their DVD rental market then. That was the time when that was really big. And I got a lot of really good feedback and everything from that. But the religious organizations didn't respond too well to it. they didn't like a non-denominational approach to the material that they kind of put a stamp on, so to speak.
And that's the most CGI you've used in a film, right?
It is, yeah. It was written around a friend of mine, Todd Ponsler, was showing me. He was just messing around with CGI effects, and he showed me these key effects that he had done. One was a dragon, one was a river full of blood, one was what was it? I think a fire shot. And I was like, these at the time they looked spectacular to me. And I was like, you know what? If I write a movie, a low budget movie around what you can do now, I'll shoot the plates and I'll shoot the empty frames, and you can just kind of paint that stuff in there and do it. And I figured out a way to integrate those into the script. I think pretty good, because I had a list of things he could do, and I managed to integrate them in the script where they kind of made sense with the story, I think. But that's the way that came about. But yeah, that's definitely the most CGI I've done up until Sharks of the Corn, where we had a lot more CGI done by Dan Tom. So and he did a really good job. My favorite shot in that is the shark jumping up and grabbing the helicopter. So
Yeah.
fun to do that. If you're gonna make a crazy shark movie, you gotta have a helicopter. Ever since Jaws 2 and The Last Shark, you've got to have that shark jumping up and grabbing the helicopter. And I was able to do that on a dime store budget. So
Hell yeah. Yeah, one of my biggest cinematic guilty pleasures is like B to Z grade like shark movies, and I love that you made one. And I was wondering like what made you decide to jump into that genre.
it was actually the distributor Ron Bonk's idea and title, and he gave me like a couple sentences of what he wanted to see: sharks in cornfields, and he had the poster art done and everything, kind of like Charles Mann and Roger Corman did in the old days. It's creating the art and pre-selling that. So once he gave me that idea, at first I said, no, I'm not interested in that. That's silly. Then I thought about it, and I was like, that's what's popular now. And I love the movie Jaws. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So who am I to say no, and kind of homage one of my favorite movies of all time. So it's really kind of a serious comedy love letter to Jaws made with no money. So
Oh yeah.
came out, that's up to the viewers. So
No, I definitely had a fun fucking time with it.
there's been good it's kind of divided people. One of the reviews I read, and I stopped reading the reviews, the guy was like, after watching the first 10 minutes of this, I just want to kill myself. I was like, I can't read any more of these bad reviews. But
Yeah. I feel the same thing about your review. So
yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, but it's definitely like up a good niche like alley. And I think the shitty like the shark movie genre has actually jumped up to the mainstream quite a bit. Like
yeah, definitely. Ever since I guess the Sharknado movies and the Asylum, ones where sharks fight,
yeah.
everything. So
yeah, 2-headed shark attack and 3-headed and 4-headed.
right. 4-headed shark versus the 20-legged octopus.
So did that random Elijah Wood shout out boost your sales?
It helped. I mean, not, nobody got rich off of it or anything, but it always helps, and it's really cool and an honor to have somebody of his status say that, hey, Truth or Dare Critical Madness was a movie that really got me inspired to make movies, be an actor, and he has his own horror production company.
Yeah, no, even just saying like he's your favorite, director. It's got to be a big shout out.
Yeah, it's good. And I think Craig Zahler was another one who wrote in Fangoria that he really loves Truth or Dare Critical Madness. Of course, he's done the Cell Block movie there that was really cool with Vince Vaughn. Cell Block 99, something.
That was such a great
movie.
movie.
And Cell Block 99, yeah, really cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, really cool that these guys even know of some of these small works. So maybe they can give me a call. I can tap some words out for them.
And you said you read every issue of Fangoria. Is there any other horror magazines that you really like that are similar to that?
Oh yeah, I like Rue Morgue and Horror Fan, and loved Video Watchdog back in the day, and Draculina, Famous Monsters. Yeah, I grew up on the printed page, of course, and now course, Fangoria still prints, but you know, it's definitely much smaller market with the internet and everything. But I'm glad they, you know, these magazines. If you go into Barnes and Noble, it is amazing. You can go to their magazine section, and there's still, you know, half a dozen, you know, horror magazine and indie film magazines that are out there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I miss them. They stopped selling them in my town a couple years back. So I know we already talked about it previously a little bit, but you went through Wild Eye for a couple of releases. I was wondering like if the experiences were usually good or
Yeah, Wild Eye, they really got high eight out there. That was the first movie that I dealt with them for, and Rob, the owner of the company, seems like a pretty cool guy. I know a lot of people have supposedly had issues with them, but of course, you know, when any company takes your movie and you know, does artwork and manufactures DVDs and pays licensing fees and gets them on streaming, you know, it's tough to make back money because they have to recoup what they've invested beforehand. And a lot of people expect, you know, once they see it listed on Walmart or in the $5 bin, they think they're going to make you know, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or be a millionaire. But it's not like that. I mean, even if you get your movie in Walmart, they, you know, they only buy so many copies and they don't sell. They return them to the distributor, and it's a 6-month process or more. You have to deal with the returns and the shipping. So it's the business side of it. I'm always learning and always you know, leery and always surprised at what works and doesn't work. So, you know, you're very lucky if you get something that makes a lot of money right off the bat and gets a fast return. So I would
yeah.
say, yeah, spend what you can afford to lose on any movie, or go the Indiegogo route where, you know, you sell first to your donators. It's just the best way to do it to be safe these days.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then you were saying that like advances are also a good thing. Like, do you normally like get advances when you're going through distributors?
Well, yes and no. It goes through phases. It used to be you would get advances all the time in the 80s, and then it dropped off in the 90s, and then now it's a good time because shot on video, especially analog, is hot again for Blu-ray releases and stuff. So people are offering advances, and I know like Donald Farmer does real well with Wild Eye. He did the Shark Exorcist movie there. So and he just did part 2, which I helped edit. So definitely try to get an advance, and if you do to get an advance, that's pretty much what you know would count on getting back, and then everything else is gravy. But I know I've always had really good luck with SRS Cinema. You know, Rombach's an honest stand-up guy, and if he makes money and sells something foreign, you know, you're going to see your money. So he's one of the guys I can definitely vouch for 100%.
Oh yeah, that's good to know.
Let's go.
So while so many SOV directors kind of fell off the map, you've stayed strong and you've kept pumping out films consistently over the years. And I was wondering, like what do you attribute to being able to stick into the industry so long, especially with how competitive it's gotten recently with streaming?
I guess I'm somebody, you know, I'm kind of inspired by Rob Halford of Judas Priest and Udo Dirkschneider of the band and Accept. These guys just keep doing their thing, and you know, they don't stop. And you know, the heavy music kind of inspires me to just keep at it. And I just never stopped. I was either too dumb to stop, or just had ideas that needed to be told, or one thing leads to another. And if you stay at it, you know, you get asked to do, you know, like again, like Sharks of the Corn, you know, that kind of thing. Distributors and different people ask you to contribute to their projects, like Brad Sykes on High Fear, High 8, and I guess the upcoming High Fear, High 8, and we did High Death, 3 anthology movies, trilogy, you know, shorts. So I just kind of say that. And then, of course, Kevin Lindemuth asked me to do the Alien Agenda and Alien Conspiracy movie. So a lot of it is just, I think, you know, being asked to do projects and to participate in things. So it's been pretty cool. And then as I go along, once in a while, I think, oh, I got a new idea. I might go ahead and do that. So just, but, you know, there's a few people who've stayed real at, you know, at it, throughout all this. I know Todd Sheets and Mark Polonia are still at it, and Donald Farmer. So you know, there's probably half a dozen of us that are still, you know, still doing the thing, you know.
Is Cat NATO, is that an anthology? Because there's like 4 different directors that are named on that. Is that just
Oh,
a team?
that it's an anthology movie. I think it's got 8 directors actually, and Don Farmer directed a segment. I directed a segment. It's got Shannon Stockin, aka Michelle Macabra. She's in the segment, and Rebecca Reinhardt did a segment, and there's a bunch of other people. So it's kind of a fun type of movie. So hopefully that'll come out in 2023.
So what's some of the future projects that you're working on?
Well, again, I've got High Fear coming out in 2023, hopefully from Wild Eye. That's a collaboration with Brad Sykes and Todd Sheets and a couple other filmmakers. And it's another anthology movie, and I think people who like my old stuff will like it. And also, Susanna Capostacci and I have teamed up maybe to do Twisted Illusions 3. We've actually started shooting a segment, and Susanna did, I think I was talking about earlier, Night of the Zodiac. And she actually, one of her pet peeves is being inspired by, directors like myself and Mark Polonia and Todd Sheets and Donald Farmer. And she goes around and shoots only in the old analog equipment, the real analog equipment, not shooting digital and putting the filters and the video looks on it. So definitely love working with her because she's got all this old equipment from 1985 on up. As a matter of fact, we're actually shooting a short that we might put in Twisted Illusions 3, and it's being shot with one of the original cameras that we used in 1985 that she got off of eBay and had restored and all that. So she's definitely a wonderful movie maker. And if you like splatter, she really cranks it up on the gore score. So definitely check out, Night of the Zodiac, and hopefully some future collaborations with her. And beyond that, I'm sure I'll probably do something for SRS Cinema down the line, depending on the direction they go in, with projects, because I know Ron Bonk's always got something cooking over there. And of course, Catnado, that's wrapped up. And I also contributed to Donald Farmer's Shark Exorcist 2, which comes out next year. And his latest one, Debbie Does Demons, I did some music cues on there for him and editing. So, and it's if you like Donald Farmer movies, I think you'll like Debbie Does Demons. It's definitely harks back to Scream Dream, Cannibal Hookers, and my favorite is Savage Vengeance of his, but definitely harks back to his older 80s output.
Cool.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's about it. So we appreciate you coming on, and keep kicking ass.
Thanks,
Cool.
man.
Thank you. You guys for watching and promoting all this stuff. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course. So
Oh yeah.
thanks again.